My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men.
We as the American people deserve to have every Epstein file released with no redactions whatsoever, period. Okay, everybody, after a major event this last weekend where we talked about Epstein, I want to discuss...
When I saw that video that you released, I recognized it was my son, and I confronted him, and he was handed over to lawful law enforcement authorities while conducting extensive interviews and cell phone analysis, and also flying out evidence response teams and hostage rescue teams and evidence tacticians who were collecting evidence in live time and flying them back to Washington, D.C. in our laboratories for immediate analyses. We were able to extract video from the campus feed and at my direction at 8 p.m. in partnership and promise to working with the public to bring this fugitive to justice. We released a newly, never before seen video of the suspect. We also released new enhanced photos of the suspect. A few hours later, that suspect was in custody.
I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining. Yet we are supposed to believe that
That's
you are
false.
the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question.
Serious trouble as its director undergoes intense questioning in Congress. Growing evidence suggests that the attack on Charlie Kirk may not have been carried out by a lone individual, but instead by a shadowy...
Meanwhile, we're getting new details about the rifle allegedly used in Charlie Kirk's assassination coming to light now and could hinder the investigation.
Alexis McAdams is live in Utah with those details. Good morning, Alexis.
Good morning, Rachel. And so we are trying to get the latest details about that weapon, but investigators had already told us one thing that we knew a few days ago, was that they found the rifle out wrapped in a towel right near the shooting scene. So they had it, but what we didn't know was exactly how old it was. And it's important to point that out because police say the suspect might have chosen that gun because it was pretty much untraceable.
And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just that'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem. This is the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever seen. And I don't... Whatever happens next in America, I hope it's in this direction because God is here and you can feel it. And Charlie would have loved this, not just because he loved large groups of people, but because ultimately he was a Christian evangelist. And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up.
Some people speculate that the FBI itself may be involved, citing what they believe is substantial evidence pointing in that direction. Others, however, argue that agencies like the CIA or even Mossad could also be implicated, framing the situation as a deep and unsettling rabbit hole that grows more shocking the further one delves. The ongoing congressional hearings illustrate this intensity, with Kash Patel already facing criticism for early missteps, including a false social media post claiming that the suspect was already...
So in the 24 hours after, when we were still looking for the guy, I know you posted that we got him. That ended up not being true. You took some incoming because of that. What led to you posting that? Why did you feel so certain about it? And what do you have to say about the criticism?
No, I appreciate this opportunity. Look, As I stated, I was being transparent with working with the public on our findings as I had them. I stated in that message that we had a subject and that we were going to interview him, and we did, and he was released. The job of the FBI is not just to manhunt the actual suspect who did the suspects, but it's also to eliminate targets and eliminate subjects who are not involved in the process, and that's what we were doing. Could I have worded it a little better in the heat of the moment? Sure.
The FBI is already messing up there. Critics argue that such chaos wouldn't occur if the public were being told the full truth. On Wednesday, Kash Patel endured nearly 5 hours of questioning before the House Judiciary Committee, where lawmakers grilled him not only about the Charlie Kirk case but also about the FBI's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. The hearing quickly grew tense, with Ranking Member Jamie Raskin pressing Patel on why the FBI had not released more documents related to Epstein. At one point, Raskin even demanded
Put
to
on
know
your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are, you said. You emphasized that the president and FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's black book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. Look at this clip.
This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black book?
black book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the black book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the and trafficking of young women and girls?
The Rolodex, which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the Black Book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there,
That's
the Black
exactly
Book
what I
under
was
the
talking
direct control of the FBI director.
We have released more material than anyone else before. The Biden administration, Obama administration had the exact opportunities to release this material, and they never did. And if you are selling the men and women of the FBI,
Why
we're
have
not
you
going after
changed
predators.
position?
Hang on, you said we're not going after child predators. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, 35%
Okay,
increase,
I'll reclaim my time.
4,700 child victims
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to
found.
reclaim my time if you could instruct the witness. Why have you changed your position? There you were saying it's under the direct control of the FBI director and all of it should be released. Why have you changed your
Everything
position?
that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released. And as I told you,
Really?
the investigation was limited. And let me make something crystal clear. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic other people, other women, and they're not other victims. This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to
Which
release.
court are you talking about?
Epstein.
On. What's your opinion on the phase 1 release of the Epstein files? Do you think it was more of a PR stunt with Pam Bondi because she just got into office? What do you think is actually going on? And do you think that she genuinely has the files or people are destroying them?
Well, I think they got to make this right. I mean, we as the American people deserve to have every Epstein file released with no redactions whatsoever, period. They got to make it right. And we, the American people, ran on transparency. We deserve to see the entire client list. Every document the government has regarding the Epstein files, we, the American people, should have on an easy-to-access website immediately in a very, very quick fashion. I'm pushing for that both privately and publicly, just so you know. Secondly, there probably are a lot of destroyed documents. I think that's probably the issue.
Andrew.
That said.
I think the DOJ should immediately move to unseal all the Epstein documents in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah. Everything. Everything except child sexual assault material.
I think every file should be released to the public the same way as the JFK files. Let the American people decide.
This
Rejected. Some even singled out Attorney General Pam Bondi as the one who should be held accountable.
Growing pressure to release the Epstein files. The president has called for the release of additional material from the investigation amid new revelations. The White House says it does not want a special counsel. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the story. Good morning, Mary.
George, good morning to you. Well, the president and this White House are desperate to move past this intrigue, but some of Trump's supporters are not letting this go. They want answers. And now the president is making a sudden turn to try to satisfy his critics and silence this uproar. This morning, trying to quell the unrelenting backlash over his administration's handling of the investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, the president now ordering the attorney general to seek the release of additional material. Posting, "I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony, subject to court approval." Bondi quick to respond, "President Trump, we are ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts." But that could be a lengthy process that could require hearings with the judge to determine the impact on victims. This morning, it's not clear if this will be enough to satisfy Trump's critics, including many of his supporters who have been demanding the release of the full FBI files on Epstein. The president's announcement coming just hours after the White House made clear Trump will not be appointing a special prosecutor to investigate, as some Republicans have called for.
The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels.
President Trump. For the weekend.
Okay, everybody, after a major event this last weekend where we talked about Epstein, I want to just kind of give you a little bit of an update because we've been covering other stories as well. Breaking day, President Donald Trump said, "Any credible information, let them have it." So here's a good place to start. There's an Office of Personnel report at the Department of Justice of a report where they interviewed Alexander Acosta, who was the U.S. attorney back in 2007 that prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein on a very, let's just say, suspicious case. He was not treated harshly. The original search warrant was selectively composed to try to protect Epstein. So the whole point of this Office of Personnel report goes to the underlying transcripts, and we can get access to that right now. Well, not we, but the Attorney General of the United States can get access to that. President Donald Trump has greenlit this. He said, "Any credible information, Pam Bondi, you can release."
Right?
So I know Pam. I think Pam should do this. I think Pam should walk down the hall to the Office of Personnel Report, OPR, and get this report. In it is a ton of information. Secondly, I think the Department of Justice should move to unseal the grand jury testimony in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Number three, I think that Ghislaine Maxwell should be given green light. Go talk. Let people ask questions. Figure out what the heck is going on. Was Jeffrey Epstein an intelligence asset? Now, the Israeli government has come out and said, no, he was not one of ours, under no means necessary. And so, was he Saudi? Was he MI6? Was he CIA? We do not know. And our audience is really fired up about the story. We've been covering it extensively. Yesterday, we were covering a lot of other stories as well, but today we had Mike Pence on. We had a couple of reporters on. This is some breaking news. President Trump today had said, any credible information, let them have it. A good place to start is unsealing the Department of Justice grand jury testimony, the Office of Personnel report. In there, we're going to find out all the information of the intel aspects of this. So we're very much on this. Keep the pressure on. And I really want to get to the bottom of this because transparency is critical. Transparency is key.
Charlie Kirk.
Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister, said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread. Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific. This is insane. It is false. It is outrageous. Charlie Kirk was a giant, a once-in-a-century talent who defended freedom, defended America, defended our common Judeo-Christian civilization. Charlie loved Israel. He loved the Jewish people. He told me so in a letter that he sent me just a few months ago. One of my greatest joys as a Christian, he said, is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews to protect Judeo-Christian civilization. He encouraged me to make the case directly to the American people about how vital Israel is to U.S. national security. He told me, the Holy Land is so important to my life, it pains me to see support for Israel slip away. Now, if Charlie disagreed with a policy of mine or a decision here and there, not only did I not mind, I welcomed it. This is the essence of Charlie. This is the essence of a free country. It's exactly what Charlie stood for. And I knew that his suggestions always came from the heart, from his love for Israel and from his love for the Jewish people. A few weeks before his death, I spoke to Charlie. I invited him to visit Israel again. And sadly, that won't happen. Now some are peddling these disgusting rumors, perhaps out of obsession, perhaps with Qatari funding. What I do know is this: Charlie Kirk was a great man, and a great man deserves honor, not lies. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. May your memory